Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear and On Point Pest Control. This week we're talking about how to have better end-of-the-year conversations. We're going to talk about a few words and a few tenses that I think will enhance whatever's next. Whether you're going to the tournament or whether you're sending people home, we can make our conversations better. Well, last week I walked downstairs and I asked my family if they wanted to take my picture. And they said no. Why? Not exactly the response I was looking for, but in jest, of course. But it was the last day of school. We need to get the chalkboard out, write down the date and what year we're in. Well, I added up the years and I can't believe that it could be true because I'm only 32 in my head. But regardless, as the band Semisonic said, closing time, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. And whether you're headed to the tournament or you're headed home, the next conversations you have are going to be very, very important. And I was preparing a couple weeks ago for a leadership group, and I came across some research that I had tucked away. It had talked about words that leaders should use to enhance their conversations, get more buy-in, and improve performance. And I thought, boom, this is a great thing to talk about. And now is a perfect time for us to get into that. We know words matter. In fact, the Gottman Institute, and you can go to my website and there's a link that will take you to this study, but they could predict divorce within 94%, whether people were going to get divorced by 94% accuracy, just by watching a 15-minute interaction. How they responded, the words they chose, that's crazy. Other research has shown how certain words can change behaviors by almost that same percentage. So let's look at how we can use our words to make things around us better. Trevor Moawad, I've talked about him a lot. It Takes What It Takes is his book. He talked about words are our worlds. He also said that words are tools. They predict and perpetuate our performance. We know that the words we choose make a big difference in how people respond to us and how we can get our message across. So we have to be very cautious and conscious, I should say, of how we work to persuade, because almost every conversation has some sort of persuasive piece to it, and understand, as Dr. Madden, my professor in college, said, you cannot not communicate. Everything we do is communicating something. So we want to use words that are enhancing our conversation and inspiring or helping create change or getting people to look at things from our perspective so that we can work together to move forward. A few words that we need to use and a few ideas. The first one is this. We can and should replace should with could. What should we do is a question, and what could we do is also a question. And if we look at what should we do, that implies that there is a binary option. There's mutually exclusive things that could happen, or maybe I have to think about what you are implying that you want. So we are limiting our options on what could happen. DeDrew and Zhang, two different studies, say that could holds immense potential for empowering those we lead, unlike should, this is not a quote, these are in my words here, or must. Both of those feel restrictive. When we use could, it opens up our minds to what could happen. Not what can we do or what must we do, but what can we lay out there and then figure out how to go about it later. So just that simple shift from should to could allows people to think a little bit more thoroughly and to not be married to their first decision or their first option, so that we can get a broader look at what our reality really is and what options lay in front of us. It opens up our minds. It's much less restrictive. Should, out, could, in. That's word number one. Bryan et al. Found that using nouns instead of verbs get buy-in. So we know that we should ask could, and that helps us get some buy-in. Using nouns instead of verbs is also important when we're trying to pull people in our direction or have them see things in a certain way. And what they found was this. They found that kids who identified as being a helper. So if you want to ask, if you need something, you say, I am looking for leaders, not I'm looking for someone to lead. Verb, noun. I am looking for leaders, noun, not I'm looking for someone to lead, verb. People like to identify with something positive. They found it, Bryant found in this research that children who identified with being a helper persisted longer, did more work, were more confident in their work than the people who were helping. So even just shifting our narrative in that way, I'm looking for a leader, not I'm looking for someone to lead. Now we identify with that, and when we identify with things, we start to do behaviors. For instance, I am a worker outer, not a word, but that's what I do. I work out. Whatever that is different than the fact that I identify as someone who is an exerciser or a worker, someone who works out. Those are two different things. And when I identify that, I start to make choices based on my identity. So if you want someone to lead, ask for a leader, not someone who's leading or for someone to lead. Next, I have to have my notes today, all kinds of good stuff. We should use could in more nouns because, that's the next one, because this is a crazy study. They did this in 1978. They found that when they asked people to step in line at a copy machine, and they got more compliance when they gave a reason. So the word because helps us persuade by providing reasons, even if the reasons are obvious. So here are the three things, three little scenarios that they gave. They had people waiting in line to make copies, and someone came up and said, can I cut in front of you? So let me be real. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use a Xerox machine? That's what they said. 60% of the people let them go. The next little scenario was this. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I need to make copies? Everybody in line needed to make copies. 93% of the people let them go ahead of them. Everybody's there to make copies, but because they gave a because, people were more generous to say, oh, sure, go on. The third scenario they had was, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush? And even though it was just a small bump, 94% of the people let them go. So the moral of the research by Langer is this, is that when we give someone a reason, they are more likely to comply or do what we ask. Why? Because we like to be helpful. We like to do things for reasons. And it's more compelling because it puts the asker into sort of a, I can't do this without you mode. I need your help. Can you help me? And usually when we ask people for help, we give them help, or we get the help that we ask for. So using because compels people to do what you ask them to do. Give a reason. Because I have to make copies, 93% of the people let them go. Almost the same as because I'm in a rush. It doesn't even have to be, it could be a very simplistic. It doesn't even have to make sense. But because now we're looking to do something for a reason. I thought that's fascinating. Next, the word together is important in the conversations that we have. When we use the word together, even if we're not doing something together, for instance, you're in front of your team and you say, we are going to do this specific conditioning drill together. It could be a cognitive thing that we're going to do together. And we're not really doing it together. You're doing it. I'm doing it. We can do it away from each other. We don't need each other to do this. But because we're doing it together, here is what they found. Research shows that people will work anywhere from between 48 to 64% longer. They'll be more engaged with their work and show more persistence. They'll rate the work as more interesting and solve problems more efficiently and effectively. And it promotes a sort of shared experience. So if I'm in front of my class and I say, we're going to do this research together, that means you're going to do your research, I'm going to do my research, but we're doing it at the same time. That together makes our brain think that we're doing this collectively. I'm in this. I've got to do this for everyone around me and hold up my part. Isn't that crazy? Think about that just for a second. We're not doing anything together. We're just in close proximity, but we are doing it together. Our brain makes us work harder and longer and faster and more efficient because we feel obligated to the people around us. That's awesome. And then finally, Packard et al. Say that we need to talk in present tense. They say this exactly, quote, while past tense indicates that something was in a particular way or that a particular person had a particular experience at a particular point in time, present tense suggests greater confidence. They contend that when we use the present tense, we're speaking with more certainty, and it generalizes our experience. We aren't talking about how things were, we're talking about how things are. And if we want those that are leaving us for the summer to think about things in the state that we want them to think about in, then we need to say something like this. Our offense is effective. Not our offense was effective this year. Our offense is effective. It continues to be effective. Just that present tense makes them say that we believe this more. It makes it more universal so that it implies that other people think this too. And because other people think this, that they should as well. So using the present tense is actually more persuasive. Using present tense language can help people see things from your perspective and help them think this wasn't a one-time thing. This is a universal thing. This is how we do it. This is what we do. This is what we will build on and continue with. So if we can use could, we use nouns instead of verbs. We want a leader, not someone to lead. We're going to use the word because. We are going to use the word together. And then we're going to talk in the present tense. And if we can do those things, our conversations will be more effective. They'll land a little bit differently. And hopefully we can get people to buy in to the team and where we need to go. Because isn't that really what we all want? So again, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Let's get together and see what your program could look like, because now is the time to lay the groundwork for the future. I hope you have a great week. Those of you going to tournaments, the best of luck. And for those of you sending people away from campus, have great conversations. I hope they go exactly as you have planned. Have a great week.